A couple dozen meters in, and we have our first signal. This one is a higher mid-tone signal. These signals usually indicate a modern dime, or perhaps a colonial copper halfpence, lying at an odd angle. Let's skip ahead a bit and get right to the good stuff. Sometimes, the journey is not the reward. Sometimes, it's just tedious excavation. It is a penny. It is a modern penny. We will check the hole for more signals. It is always good practice to check the hole for additional signals, in case there was a coin spill. Yes! There is another signal in there. Let's take a look. This will take just a bit more excavation. Ah. Yes. It's not exactly colonial, but it was very abundant in the late 1800s. By that time, this ox cart road would have had use for a couple hundred years. It is an Indian head penny. What a wonderful coin. It is amazing to find modern and old so close to each other. While not a coin spill, it actually is a rare sight to find two coins from different centuries in the same spot. Well, back in the ground both of you go. The next person to find you will have the most wonderful experience, as this will most likely be their first signal of the day. Not a bad way to start things. Let's see what else lurks under our feet. Hello. My name is Nigel Grockle. I am an archaeologist on holiday, here in the States, looking for the past and not-so-past relics of America. Today, we are going to be exploring an ox cart road in New England, off one of America's first roads leading into the unknown, known as the New World. While old relics are hard to come by these days, we shall see if there are any treasures that have been missed by the scores of detectorists that have scoured this landscape over the years. At first glance, and as expected, there are very few non-ferrous targets remaining in the ground. But it is very difficult to find every target at a location. Thus, luck and the odds should favor our quest today. A few more meters in from where the Indian head penny was found, we have our next signal. It is in the higher silver range, indicating that it may be a silver dime or quarter. Let's have a look. It is a dime. It is from the late 1960s, which is not exactly what we were hoping for. While silver dimes were produced until 1966, most produced after 1964 were backdated to 1964. This one would have been outside that range. There are a few error coins dating to 1965 and they are worth thousands each. This one is worth 10 cents. Well, back in the ground you go. The next lucky person can find you. Let's keep going. I feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to detect in the States. I am an avid detectorist back home, but could not bring my gear with me when I traveled. Luckily, my new neighbor here in the States was able to set me up with his kit. Now, I can really get a sense of the land. Right next to the road, in the woods, we have our next signal. This one shows much promise. This is in the higher silver range, reserved for silver half dollars. Let's see if we have found something fantastic. Ah, and it's a vape pen. Well, that is almost unexpected. The time of King George meets the 21st century. The person who dropped this must have been quite upset. While it can be replaced for a few pounds, the nicotine withdrawals would have put anyone around the person in great peril. Oh well, back into the earth you go. Perhaps the owner is a detectorist and will someday come across this treasure and be delighted by this find. Perhaps they will utter the quaint phrase of reunited people by declaring, "Oh shit, so that's where you went." What a wonderful vision of the future. I have found that archaeology and metal detecting are indeed very similar. While you will always have people whose pursuits are focused on finding the largest treasure or the most prestigious or elusive find, most are really just trying to interpret, to the best of their abilities, what events had taken place at a particular site. And while trying to participate at an archaeological dig site can be difficult, everyone can pick up one of these detectors and explore the most mundane locations to reveal what events had transpired there in the past. It's the closest thing to a time machine. Right over here is the most wonderful silver quarter signal. Let's have a look. And thanks to modern technology, we can skip the tedious digging part and get right to the big reveal. Ah! It's a square washer. Just imagine you are riding down the road on your Suzuki dirt bike. Then, the incident. As you round the turn, the biggest moose you ever saw is standing there, chewing on some moss. You make a correction to keep you from striking the moose and also avoid splashing into the river, but it comes at a cost. Your bike is skidding sideways when you hit a rock, which then sends you flying off the bike. The bike slams hard against the ground. As the bolt holding your kickstand shears off, the square washer flies off. The moose trots off into the woods, and you are now lying on the ground. And what remains of that day? This washer. We will now rebury it to commemorate the event. Many relics, such as the washer, have little significance in this present time. But in a few hundred years, people may marvel at the thought of how that washer was a piece of an antiquated mechanical device used for transportation, which required wheels and intricate moving parts. That washer is the horseshoe of the future. Well, on to the next target. Here's a signal that is very promising indeed. This could be the halfpence that we seek today. And it's a... well, it's... ah, I know what it is. It's the focusing lens to a torch, or flashlight, as they are called in these parts. Just imagine the history. It's a late night, and you and your friends have just purchased the case of beer that will make the night perfect. You are walking down this road to meet the rest of your crew. You can see the campfire that is already burning in the distance. Then from the darkness, you hear the phrase, "Freeze! Stay where you are." In the moment, you drop the beer and move to turn your torch off, but in your haste, you turn the torch too far, and the front lens pops off as you head to the road and to possible freedom. Well, when you come back, this piece will be waiting to be reunited with the rest of the torch, flashlight. Let's move on. Some detectorists do not care for items like the torch lens. They are only looking for precious metals. People will consider pieces like the torch lens as trash, while there could be treasure in the same spot. That same person running with the torch could have dropped a gold ring, or could have lost a handful of silver coins during their hasty retreat. As the matter of fact, the torch lens, or any other bit of metal, will produce a signal that will mask signals that may be buried underneath it. Unless if one digs these signals, those treasures will remain in the ground. We are taking a detour from the cart road to follow the river for a bit. And as luck would have it, we have our first good signal. It is higher, in the range of the King George Halfpence. It's a broken bottle top. It could have been dropped, or thrown, as early as the 1940s, judging by the depth it came from. Ah! We have another signal directly next to this one. We shall put this right back into the earth, so it can enjoy these wonderful surroundings. What a wonderful place to have this bottle of liquor. The wonderful river, just feet away. The soft pine leaves, for sitting. What could they have been doing? Fishing, perhaps. Let's see what else was dropped. It's not on the surface, so it could be promising. This adjacent signal should tell the rest of the story. Perhaps some pocket change. No. It is a shotgun shell. Ah. Now the picture is emerging. It must have been a duck hunter waiting patiently. Perhaps a little thirsty. Then, a duck swam by. Bang! And lunch is served. Wonderful! Back in the hole it goes, to rest for more time. Let's keep looking in this area. Perhaps the hunter went further into the woods to take a piss after all that drinking. Maybe his spare change could have fallen out as he was stumbling about. Hunting is one of the activities that you expect in forests like this. Sometimes, shotgun shells are the only relics that one will recover all day. However, it becomes a bit jarring when you find these relics inside city limits, in parks and fields. But they are reminders that some cities were nothing more than fields and forests in the not-so-distant past. This signal is a lower tone signal, usually reserved for lead items. Let's have a look. Oh my goodness. Oh. Dropped it. It's a musket ball. Just imagine. A weary traveler in the early 1700s is hunkered down for the night. In the middle of the night, he hears the dreaded howl of wolves. He grabs his trusty musket and looks out into the dark wilderness. In the distance, he can hear the cracking of branches as the wolves are closing in. As they draw closer, he raises his weapon. He strains to see, but there's nothing but pitch black. Then the crack of a branch. He quickly aims and fires toward the direction of the sound. Now, judging by the slightly flattened side of the otherwise circular shape, he most likely missed, then was consumed by the pack of wolves as he tried to reload, a process that would have taken 1 minute too long to react to the beasts. And this musket ball is all that remains. Back in the ground you go, to warn other travelers of why they need to appreciate modern firearms. We are now off the path and in the forest on a hillside. This would have a commanding view of the river and roads below. While not visible today, many forests in the past were cut down to make farm fields. The size of these trees point to a deforested area of the past. We have just come across a lower tone signal that is deep. Let's see what it is. This signal turned into a bit of a cat and mouse game. I kept finding then losing the signal. I suspect that there were several pieces of iron mixed into this hole. I was very close to losing my shit when I finally found it. It was not my proudest moment. Ah, yes. It's an oxen shoe. Oxen were the heavy lifter beasts of burden during colonial times. They would have been used to haul lumber and help clear fields. Of course, this is not flat terrain, and throwing a shoe was commonplace. Let's put this one back into the ground. The next person who finds them can reflect on the vast improvements that have taken place in hauling goods, such as the seemingly endless stream of pickup trucks with lift kits and loud exhausts that seem like the only hauling they perform is hauling ass as they speed down the road right past this incredible sight. We are now back on the ox cart road. And suddenly, we have a signal. It's another high mid-tone signal. Let's see what it is. Ah. It's a penny. Perhaps the hunter did lose the change after all. Wait! Another signal. I think we may have a coin spill on our hands. Let's see if we get our 2 cents worth. Oh. It is not a penny. A dime. No. Upon closer inspection, it is a coin called a half dime from 1829. It is made of silver. A very rare coin. That is amazing. The 2 coins less than a foot apart, but from different centuries. Perhaps these 2 hunters, separated by more than a century, had both walked out of the woods at this exact spot. As it was more likely dark, and having consumed quite a bit of alcohol, they both did not realize that there was a drop down into the road, as it was worn away by years of use. Both fell down. Both lost some pocket change. And there we have it. Amazing. And now, they are both going right back next to each other, to wait for the lucky detectorist, who will find these magnificent pieces of history. There. Nicely covered up. Let's see what other pieces may be lurking here. It seems to be a hot spot. And just as I suspected, another signal, not 20 feet from the previous ones. It's deep. A deep signal is a good sign, but sitting through the digging part can be tedious. So, we are going right to the good part. And here we go. It appears to be an ornate silver item that was once circular. Now it is flattened. Perhaps a piece from a walking stick. There was definitely an abundance of activity at this part of the road. Perhaps there was a bump at one point and things could bounce out of the carts. Although you most likely would not have had a silver-banded walking stick if you were driving an ox cart. What a wonderful find. Now, we carefully place it back into the soil, gently covering it. Hopefully, the next detectorist will have the foresight to look around after finding one of these treasures. If they do, there will be several surprises waiting for them. How exciting! Well, this concludes our journey through time at this most wonderful cart road. I am so glad that I had the opportunity to explore this piece of America's past. We shall explore more of the history of this part of New England in our upcoming episodes. Please join me next time as we take a peek at what is lurking less than a foot beneath our feet. This is Nigel Grockle. We'll see you next time.